All right, here's some frequently asked questions I get from leaders who are just starting the group. First of all, how often should we meet? Some groups like to meet every other week. Some groups meet every week. I am a strong proponent of meeting every week. I like the consistency relationally, just to stay connected, and I like the accountability to complete the material during the week. When you meet every other week, there's a temptation to wait until the last night, like, oh my, I've got my group tomorrow, and then working through the whole lesson. Instead of 2 weeks, instead of processing the material for 2 weeks, you're processing it for 12 hours. So meeting every week just builds in that accountability that I've got to get these sections done so that I'm prepared. Even if it's the night before, at least they just looked at half of the lesson to focus on. So big proponent of doing it every week. If for whatever reason you can't, that's okay. But my encouragement, if your group is meeting every other week, is set the expectation that on the off week, you're going to complete the first 2 sections of the lesson, and then on the second week, you complete the next 2 sections. So again, people are at least processing the material over 2 weeks. If you're meeting every other week, you should probably plan on at least meeting for 2 hours, because that's a lot of material to go through. If you're meeting every week, you can probably get away with 90 minutes. If your group's fine with extending it to longer, that's fine. Because we meet every week, I leave a bunch of time in the beginning just to hang out, catch up, because there's not that pressure of we got to get through things. That being said, don't feel like you have to answer every question. Okay, you don't. There's going to be some questions you definitely want to highlight, and just pray through that, look through that. What are the questions? And there may be some questions that your group members really want to discuss. Then discuss those for sure. Get through as many questions as you can, but just be mindful of the time. If you know there's a couple questions towards the end that you want to get through, then you're going to have to skip some if time is running out. So the goal isn't getting through every question. The goal is life transformation, and just see how that works out. What God's Spirit is prompting you and your group members as you go through it. The other frequently asked question I get is the Bible memory verses really that important? Yes, they're very important. And it can be challenging to memorize verses. I get it. But it's so key. I'm going to do a separate video on why we should memorize Bible verses. But let me just tell you, yes, it's very important. At minimum, if someone totally says they can't do it and they've tried and you've seen the effort, then just get them to commit to every day reading through the memory verse and just taking time to think about it and praying, God, what do you want to teach me through this? Just meditating on it is what they'll be doing. If they're doing that every day for a couple of weeks, then they'll get a lot of it. But shoot for the memorization and shoot for word perfect. I'll share more in the next video. Another frequently asked question is do we have to do a lesson over 2 weeks? Can't we do a lesson every week? Slow down is my answer. I strongly encourage you to do a half lesson every week, or if you're meeting every other week, then doing 1 lesson every 2 weeks. The goal isn't to race to get through this material. The goal is for you to become a disciple, to be equipped, that these lessons become tools in your toolbox so you can pass them on to others, so that when your group members are leading their groups, they've had time to process it. So I encourage half a lesson every week. If you can't meet every week, then 1 lesson every 2 weeks. You're going to do great. I'm excited that you're leading the group.